So what we were talking about, it's actually very interesting because we both have friends who are doing all kinds of different gigs. Some road gigs with the same artist, some different artists just hopping and jumping from gig to gig. Some have coveted TV gigs. Now, I want to talk about that for a minute. When I first moved here in 2005, I got on with some film gigs where I was playing guitar on some great film scores with John Powell. But then I had another friend who's, oh, hey, by the way, do you want to go on tour with American Idol? And I was like, because I moved out here to do film and TV. And I was like, yeah, I guess that sounds like fun. Go to his studio. Back then, the technology was not as advanced as it is. So he had a bunch of CDs for me with all the songs and he gave me charts and stuff. So we go to do the whole thing and I come back home, I shed, and we go into a 3-week production rehearsal at Center Staging in Burbank. And I was excited. I'd done a bunch of tours before that, but this was my first real big tour, like mega tour. And then came back home and they asked me to go again. And they said, hey, we would love to have you again, blah, blah, blah. This is the pay. And they raised my salary $200. So the producer of the show, whose name is Simon as well, but not Simon Cowell, but another Simon, we had a blast. And he was like, yeah, we want you back. And I was like, oh, you mean $200 extra per diem, but what's the actual salary bump? And he was like, what? Yeah, but listen, so here's the thing. And I'm going to be actually candid here because it's important. Now, this is 2005, 2006. So you're talking almost 20 years ago. It was $2,000 a week. And I think we went out for 8 or 9 weeks. And I just felt like that extra 200 wasn't enough.
Dispersed over a year is nothing.
Is nothing. So I felt like if they were serious, they would have at least come back with 500. But honestly, I was looking for more like $3,000 to $3,500 a week. That was my goal. Now, this brings to the forefront the concept of you have to be willing to accept the job for what it is, unless you create the job and you're in charge of the budget. Totally different. So how am I going to tie this into all of our friends who have gigs? This is what happened. I turned down the next tour. No, thank you. And my homie got the tour. And he stuck with it for a while.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Exactly. Now I'm home and I'm like, ah, shit, I gotta find, okay, I cast down the tour. I gotta find some work. So I just started hustling again, making phone calls, emails, and say, hey, what's up, blah, 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 blah. Sure enough, something popped off where it was also through Ricky Miner's camp, who's like the godfather of all LA music directors. Shout out to Ricky. He's also been on the podcast. And I got the call to audition for a morning TV show. And this is where I'm tying it in. The homie we were just talking about. Do you remember that show, Will and Grace? Okay. She was Megan Mullally. She was the girl with the squeaky voice.
Yep.
And
I remember.
Great character. Anyway, she was at the height of her fame and they offered her a TV show on NBC. We did it for about 6 months and I got the gig. I auditioned, blah, blah, blah. The MD, great guy, Brett. I love Brett and the whole gang. It was just, I met a lot of good people on that gig. Anyway, great stuff. We did that gig for 6 months, bro. Call time was 9 a.m. Now, if you're on time, you're late. If you're early, you're on time.
Pause that. Remember that.
Right.
Professional musician 101.
101, exactly. So my thing was like, if my call time is 9 a.m. and I got to drive from Valencia to Hollywood, it's going to take you 90 minutes.
Yeah, like an hour and
okay?
a half.
Yeah. Now, when you go 25, 30 miles anywhere else, you're like, oh, 20 minutes, done. No. Not in LA, okay? Nope. So my thing was like, I'm gonna be the first one there every day. So I was leaving my house in Valencia around 6:30 or 7 a.m. So I would arrive to the soundstage anywhere between 7:30 and 8 a.m. Nice and early, which is good because you get acclimated, and that's my whole thing. You wanna get acclimated to your new environment in which you're working. Let me just say this, and again, here's the tie-in with our buddy. Those were the best 6 months of my life, career-wise, because I didn't have to see an airport for 6 months. Now, the money, and that's what I want to get to. Remember, American Idol started at $2,000 a week, and then it was $2,200 a week, and I turned that down. Okay, the money that I made on the TV show was probably about almost twice as much per week. Let's say somewhere between 35-ish, okay? However, it was what we say, it was called on the card, which means it was through the musicians union. Not only was it through the musicians union, it was through SAG-AFTRA because we were singing background vocals and even talking on camera from time to time.
For those of you who don't know, when you have talking parts or your voice is involved, it's more money and it's more involved. So it's a good thing to have.
And there's 2 unions that really pertain to musicians. The AFM, American Federation of Musicians, and SAG-AFTRA, only if you're singing or talking applies. So now that, let's just call it $3,000, was like $4 or $5,000 a week for 6 months, mic drop.
Yeah.
So the homie that we're talking about, who has this long-running TV show, who has this beautiful home, look, that is not only attainable. That's not only a dream. That's like reality.
Yeah. Like my biggest quarrel with music education in the United States is the fact that we don't know about these jobs when we graduate high school. There's so many jobs in the entertainment industry, and as long as you have the skills to do them and you know what's going on and you're aware of, like, you can have a career in entertainment.
That's right.
You don't necessarily have to be a keyboardist or a guitarist like we are.
Yeah.
But there's a space for everybody in the entertainment industry.
Not only that, I'll add to what you're saying is the entertainment industry, what do they love? Youth. Why? Because youth has the finger on the pulse of the current culture and what's hot and what's trending. If you graduate from high school and you graduate from college, 20-something, you are the prime candidate for some of the biggest gigs out there. But here's the problem. Because you are young, you don't know about the business side. So what do you need? You need a coach. You need somebody who's been there and done that to walk you through it. Say, yo, G, you got this gig offer? Okay, first, let's talk about the dialogue that you're having with the management team, the powers that be. Let's talk about the contracts that are in place. Let's talk about the union paperwork and all of these things. Your little substack of to-dos. If you get that in order, right, you can change your income by double, triple maybe. Like it can just work wonders where you're like, oh man, the gig pays $1,500. Hold on, come talk to a cat who's been there before, who's done it. That $1,500 could easily be $3,000, $4,000, $4,500. Now you're stacking chips. But then I'm also gonna say, go have your fun. Friday night, play some video games, have fun. But come Monday morning, come and talk to me, because now I'm going to show you where to take 40% of that, 50% of that income, and I'm going to show you where to invest it. Because now you might be 22, 23, 24, 25. But when you get my age, 50, you're going to own that apartment building down there. And guess what that apartment building is going to do for you? Make it so you never have to work a day again in your life. That is the lesson.
Listen to that, young cats. Music business is real. We can do it. You can do it. You just got to know the secrets, man. And this guy knows them.
Nomad here with the Career Musician. Welcome to the fam. If you found this video and information therein useful, do us a favor, like, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell so you can stay up to date on what's happening here. As well, leave us a comment, join the conversation. We want to hear from you. What do you want to learn from us so that we can help you level up your career? We will see you in the studio or on the road, my friends. Check out this next video.